Hello everybody and welcome back to Art with M. Today I'm doing another version of the Cheap Art Supply Challenge, this time neon. Of course I forgot to record footage of me making my swatches, but I do have some extra footage for you right here. That is the beautiful Napata, who invaded my office space when I was slipping in and out of the room to grab some water or something, but she's a sneaky one, she managed to get in there. So this first version I ended up scrapping. I didn't really have any ideas for what I wanted to draw for this. I was so overwhelmed with the bright colors and I had no idea what to do with them. This sketch, where I'm just like going in with the yellow highlighter to start, I imagined like a bunch of people at like a concert with like laser light show that's causing some dramatic lighting, but I did not plan it out and did not have any passion for it and just did not execute it well. So after a little bit more of using these paints very ineffectively on this piece, I basically just tear it out and start from scratch with some new sketches. But I did use it as an opportunity to see how the colors mixed a little bit. I blended the green with the blue and all that good stuff. Here's a new sketch, which also did not go very well. I don't know what that arm is trying to do. I did practice with lining with the highlighters. So, as I've mentioned several times in other videos, I'm very interested in plants and, botanicals, which I mean is the same thing, just with a fancier word. But I'm really into botanicals, and I'm into drawing them lately. And, I always like to draw, like, elves and fairies and other creatures with big ears for some reason. So I did a little sketch of this elf girl, I suppose, in her garden, watering her flowers, and she's got like trees and hedges and a hydrangea bush in the background, which you'll see in a little bit once I start painting with the colors of the hydrangea bush, which I actually bought myself a hydrangea bush last week and I love it. I planted it in my yard the other day and I got real sweaty and almost passed out. But that's what always happens anytime I go outside in the sun, because it's 90 degrees-ish. But anyway, enough about my actual IRL plants. You want to hear about this art with plants in it, I'm sure. That's why you're here. So I was feeling way better about this illustration painting. Is it a painting if part of it is using markers and pencils and only part of it is using paint? I don't know. We're just gonna say mixed media piece, or just piece or work or whatever. But I decided to use this very, very crappy plastic brush that came with the paints to get some textures. So at one point you'll just see me like slamming it into the page very aggressively. There we go. To get a sort of random leafy texture to give this like illusion of, foliage. And the brush did not like it. I was very rough on it. I think you can see right there. It's kind of split in half, but that works for texture, I guess. I don't plan on using this brush in the future. When I finish off these paints, I'm gonna use one of my cheap but better brushes to use these. I have no idea what kinds of paints these are supposed to be. The packaging just said paints. They kind of work like watercolor if you water them down, but they're very gluey. Like they have the texture of like white glue. Like that level of viscosity before you water them down. They're not like completely opaque, but they're a little opaque, so they're almost like gouache, but I think they're just like generic washable kids paints. They were $1. They didn't really give me much to go on. But I really like how the colors mixed, like how I was able to mix that dark blue with the green to get these like darker foliage colors. And yes, this piece looks extremely amateur because, hey, it's dollar store art supplies. I kind of, with this like little set with the little plastic tubs connected to each other, I kind of reverted to a childlike technique for at least the painting part. I was just like extremely aggressive with the brush and aggressive with the colors, not trying to be subtle because, you know, this is a neon art supply challenge, so why not lean into the eye-bleeding colors? After letting the paint dry a little bit, I decided to line with the highlighters, which I only have 4 colors of the highlighter: yellow, orange, pink, and purple. I kind of wish there was a blue for that extra darkness, but I think that the purple worked as a lining color for most parts and like for her face. Though I did try to do like selectively colored outlines, so like I gave her bright yellow skin because she's like an elf thing, but I lined it in orange to give it more of a warmth and less of a, this is a lemon human. Though, I mean, maybe she is an anthropomorphic lemon. I don't know. She's just, oh my god, she's literally highlighter yellow. I don't know what her deal is. She's a magical elf. I don't know. Don't worry about it. But I had a lot of fun with her giant, poofy, cotton candy hair. I got stuck on this idea of like very, very floofy hair very early in sketching her on that other page where I was doing sketches, and then decided, yeah, she needs to have the most impractical gardening hair. Like, if she leaned over a little bit over the flowers, she would get like leaves and twigs and dirt in it, but don't worry about it. She's magical, probably. She's some sort of, I don't know, plant elf. I don't know. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. I probably should come up with stories for my characters that I do in these illustrations before I start doing the voiceover, but I don't do that very much. Like, I did it a little bit with that Nepenthes. Is it Nepenthes or Nepenthes? I don't know. Don't worry. I'm not a plant expert yet. I did a little bit with that pitcher plant girl, and, you know, some of my more established OCs, but when on these like one-off illustrations, I don't really come up with a story, and maybe I should, because that makes an illustration more compelling if there's actually like a story behind it other than just, this is a pretty elf girl in a dress in a garden, because there's not really anything to go on for that. But I started to realize around this point, I think, when I was going over the line art again, that the paper would only take like 3 layers of highlighter tops, and not one after the other, because if you do it one after the other, it's definitely gonna go through immediately. But like, I gave her blush on her cheeks and shading for her bangs and stuff, and it was eating up the paper because water-based markers do that. And yep, when I started to do her cheeks, I tried to like blend it, and it started to eat through the paper. Like, there are bright orange spots on the back of the page where there's just ink going all the way through. But I had a lot of fun doing the like line art with the chisel dim. It was a little unpredictable because I kept forgetting that it was a chisel, and it could get very, very broad lines if I wasn't careful about how I was orienting it with respect to the paper. But it got some cool effects that were, you know, unexpected and kind of spontaneous, and it was really fun. And like, it's cheap art supplies, so I just kept playing around with it until I felt like I had done enough. So like, I decided to go over her dress again with some more purple and some pink, because I wanted some more contrast on the character, and over and over and over again until I finally decided she was about done. So since I lost the footage of my swatches, you didn't get to see that in the pack of colored pencils, there were 4 pencils that all appeared to be the same shade. Like the pencil casings were almost the exact same bright red-orange color, but they turned out to be a magenta, a pink, a red, and an orange, and they were like wildly different colors. So if you go back and peek at the swatches at the very beginning, you might be able to see the difference. So here's a close-up of her face if you were interested in seeing the details in her face and her hair, the little curly cues and bouncy, poofy, cloudy ringlets. Here's some of that aggressive brush texture that I mentioned. But here's the art supplies I used, and here's the final piece. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know any ideas you'd like to see me explore in the future, if you'd like me to try to combine all the cheap art supplies I got. But I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Bye.